If you're not using ChatGPT to help you in doing real estate deals, leveraging it to extract data from PDFs, crunch numbers, consolidate a ton of information that you need to do and get through during underwriting, then you need to check this out. I was recently going through a deal where I had to consolidate 12 months of P&Ls and extract all the information so that I could understand how well the business was performing. If I had to do this on my own, it probably would have taken me several hours. And what I was able to do is actually do that in a fraction of the time, probably less than an hour, where I was able to upload all the data to ChatGPT, have it extract the data for me, and then export it as a CSV that I was then able to pull into my own spreadsheets to understand the performance of the business. So I wanted to quickly run you through what that looks like, how I did it, and highlight some of the deeper capabilities of ChatGPT beyond, what most people talk about in terms of creating stories or silly little rhymes. So let's get into it and let me walk you through exactly what I did. So here's an example of one of the P&Ls that we looked at. You can see gross profits, income, expenses, and at the end of the day, the NOI. What was important for me is I wanted to see how the business was performing in the last 12 months on the whole. And then I also wanted to see the trends of income and expenses over that time period so I could isolate any issues and call those out to the seller if we need to discuss them further. And so essentially all I needed to do was then export all these PDFs, import them into ChatGPT. And from there, really, you can have it answer a series of questions for you, provide some summaries, call out any oddities. And then at the end of the day, we're going to export that as a CSV directly from ChatGPT. And then you can import that into your own Google Sheet or whatever you like to do some further analysis. So let's go ahead and run through this really quick. We're going to do upload from computer. And I actually have all the files right here. I'm actually going to chunk these out. We'll do the first handful and then we'll get the next 4. So I'm then just going to prompt it, say I'm going to upload several files and then ask you some questions about them. Go ahead and upload that. It will process. And then let's go ahead and grab the remainder of the files. There are some limitations. It will only, as I found out, allow you to do 10 at a time. So we will just simplify and break it into 2 batches. We will then upload these. Let's ask it some questions. So we're just going to say, give me a summary of the data and trends you see in the P&Ls for this car wash business and see what it tells us about it. So you can see that it's actually pulling out monthly revenue. It calls out the highest and lowest months. You can see the explicit values that it's referencing. It talks about where the income is coming from. It talks a little bit about utilities, repair and maintenance, some of the fluctuations. Also calls out some of the notable times throughout that period, which is pretty incredible. Let's see what else it might say. Significant loss in June 2023, primarily due to large interest payments. So actually go fact check that. And let's go see if there's any other months we can go take a look at. So here we're actually looking at June 2023. And we are going to see if there was, in fact, a large interest payment. There was. $24,000. Awesome. So it looks like it's taken in all the information. Now what we're going to ask it to do is actually export this in a detailed format that we can get in CSV. And all I'm going to tell it is to specifically format the columns and the rows. And I want to ask it to give me all of the detailed information. So we're just going to tell it to provide a CSV export with the income and expenses in the rows and the months in the columns, provide all income and expense items in the export. I'm going to highlight to be detailed and thorough. Just reiterate to provide the CSV. So now what you can see, it's actually writing the code to build a data frame, and we'll get into that. Essentially, it's going to detail out all of the items that we would have just asked it for, and it's writing the code to actually execute the creation of the CSV. While it's doing this, I'm going to go ahead and open up Google Sheets. We are going to create a new sheet and we will just call this P&L. Okay, great. It looks like it fought through a couple errors, but it self-corrected itself. And we now have a CSV we can download. I can see that just downloaded to my folder. Let's go ahead and import. Let's go ahead and upload. Let's see what it did for us. Ooh, this is looking good. So let me just format this to make it a little bit more visually appealing here. Bring these out. Let's center these. Let's make all of these dollars. We'll drop the cents, and this is looking pretty good. So we have all of our income here, cost of goods sold, total travel meals, and we have net income down here. So this is looking pretty good. Essentially, you can see all of the items here. Now there's a little cleanup I'll probably need to do where things are combined. So that things like electricity, internet, water, sewer will all roll into total utilities. There's things that should come out of this P&L, like vehicle expenses. These are things that I would not expect the business to pay for, and these are sort of seller expenses. But the short of it is I can actually, see how things are looking overall. Maybe I'll also add total income here just so I can see this for my own reference. And we'll just sum these up. We'll drag that across, and I should have top line revenue numbers right here. And just for reference, what I'm actually going to do is we'll spot check this, and let's go back actually to some of the highlights that it mentioned earlier on. So it said highest revenue month was October of 2023. Lowest was December. And here are the relative numbers. So 17 and 10 grand. October was, 17, and December, 10 grand. So you can see that it did a really good job at exporting everything, gave us a detailed breakdown in literally the amount of time it took me to record this video. This is incredibly valuable in terms of moving quickly, not spending your time on the tedious aspects of doing your due diligence, crunching the numbers. You can leverage a tool like this to highlight the insights very quickly, condense the data in a very usable format, and then move on to the next part of your deal rather than getting too bogged down in crunching numbers and extracting things from PDFs that a seller gave you, or even worse, handwritten docs, which we have sometimes seen. So I hope this was a helpful sort of use case of just how powerful these models can be and different ways that you can use them in your own business, whether it's extracting data from PDFs like this or just having more conversational insights into whatever it is that you're looking into, and leveraging these models to give you better feedback, asking more questions, and going deeper into whatever it is that you're working on.